I've only read 2 books this month. Okay. Hi! And welcome to a new video. Nice to see you here. Maybe again, maybe not again, maybe it's your first time. So I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Fabie. I like to read in my free time. I read a lot in middle school and even in high school, and then through university in my first year I kind of stopped reading, and now I try to find the time to do it again and maybe also cut down on my screen time on my phone while doing that. And so welcome to this month wrap up. This just a coffee I made because it's pretty sad what I have to tell you. I've only read 2 books this month. To defend myself, we also had a lot of exams going on. I still have a lot of exams. We had the midterms and now there's the final terms. And this is going to be pretty exhausting because I actually have a week off in May. I haven't been able to read anything because I'm just sitting in front of my laptop trying to write this final essay of the hardest course in the whole year. So that's how my day's been going. I'm able to go outside with my dog, then do a little bit of sports, and then I cannot even focus on anything anymore. I'm just sitting there scrolling on my phone mindlessly because to read would be too exhausting at the moment. So I only read 2 books, but one of the books is a pretty thick book, so maybe this counts as something because it almost has 800 pages as far as I know. Let's get into the books that I read. So the first one, Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. I don't know why all the young adult romance fantasy book authors have this obsession with the term thorns, but yeah, this is the one I read. It is actually the last one in a series by Cassandra Clare, which also plays in the Shadowhunter universe and applies in the 1920s. It plays in the 19th or 20th century, and it is the last book in the trilogy, therefore I cannot really tell you anything about it. What I can tell you about it, I liked it. It is pretty thick, and normally it takes me a lot of time to read it because I cannot stay focused so long because it is so thick, because I feel like I'm not making any progress. But I also feel like with Cassandra Clare books, it doesn't matter how long the book is, because I'm just gonna feel like I'm going to fly through the whole book, and I cannot wait to read and find time to read the next snippet of it. So this book came out this year as far as I know, in March, but I had to wait until April essentially because I got it delivered here and not where I study, and it also was delayed because they apparently sold more copies than they had. So they had to get the book in order to then get it to me first. So yeah, I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I would actually give it 3.5. I don't know, it sounds so cruel to one of Cassie's books because I really like her. She's my favorite author. She usually writes also my favorite books, but I liked all the other love triangles, right? She wrote City of Bones, for example. The Mortal Instruments is the first series by her. Then she wrote the Clockwork series, and in all of them we have a love triangle. I mean, I love me a good love triangle, but in this one it just seemed pretty forced. Like, it was not natural. It seemed just, yeah, for the sake of having a love triangle in the story, because those are my main characters, and therefore if we want to have a love triangle as I did in all the other series, then we have to do it with those. So it seemed really unnecessary, and it did not feel natural at all. And the second thing would be, I am more person of close door romance, and this was a little bit challenged by this one, which I'm not used to by Cassie's book normally, because they do contain something that goes a little bit, but just like slightly beyond close door romance, but not too much. And I enjoyed that about the books, because I know that a lot of other fantasy books that are getting a lot of hype, and I want to read them on one hand because the story seems really interesting, right? But on the other hand, I'm pretty discouraged by all the things I hear about the romance and the spice stuff, because that's absolutely not mine. But yeah, so this is the first book. And now moving on to the second one. So the next book that I read is called All the Girls I've Been, and it is by Tess Sharp. So the second one I actually read on my train trip back to my hometown, which took me about 4 hours total of reading time, but the trip took 5.5 hours actually. Yeah, so I found this book in my bookshelf, and in this bookshelf there are only those books that I already read and none of them are TBRs, because I have an extra shelf there behind the camera where I put all of my TBR books. So, but then I discovered that there were some bookmarks in here. I found one at page 50, and then I figured that I might have started the book and then I accidentally landed in this. I don't know how, but then I just continued reading the book and I was pretty confused because it felt like I already read it. And at the end I was pretty sure I already read that book, so it was actually a reread. And yeah, it's about Nora, and Nora has a pretty interesting history because her mom is a con and she was also trained as a con, as being a little pretty girl, so that her mom could then get a lot of men interested in her, until she then would take all of their money and leave with her daughter. I can read you the backside of it, so to understand my story you first have to know about the girls I've been. That starts with my delightful con artist mother, because I didn't choose a life of deception, I was born into it. 5 years ago I escaped and became Nora, who was a nice normal life in a nice normal neighborhood. Until this morning, when I found myself at gunpoint in the middle of a bank heist with my ex-boyfriend and my new girlfriend. Talk about awkward. The first thing I thought was get down. The second thing, we're all gonna die, because I stopped to buy donuts on the way to the bank. And the third thing, I'm the only one who can get us out of here alive. Because gunmen have no idea who I really am. That girl has been in hiding for far too long. So, sounds really interesting, it's really good. And actually when I bought the book, which was, I don't know, but it was a pretty long time ago, so minimum of 2 years. And it already had the sticker on it that says that there is going to be a movie featuring Millie Bobby Brown. I'm still waiting. But yeah, essentially I read the book, and on one hand it was like, well, it feels like I've already watched the movie, and then I googled and then I found out that the movie is still not out here. Never mind the sticker. It took me until probably the last few chapters to figure out that the things that I saw in my head were the same pictures that I imagined when reading the book first. So that's why I felt like I already have seen the movie, which does not exist. But yeah, it was kind of fun. I gave it 4 stars, I think, or 3.5. I would honestly, on Goodreads I gave it 4 stars, but I would give it 3.5 because on one hand, yeah, I liked it. I really like it. I like the characters, I like the storyline and how the characters are essentially written. But on the other hand, I mean, there must have been a reason that it took me so long to remember that I actually have read the book. And in the first place, I picked it up because I thought I did not read it. So even though the cover is really pretty, right? So why did nothing of the story really stick to me, that when I saw the book I could not remember anything? And I also read the back side of it and was like, oh, that sounds really interesting, why did I stop reading it? Because I found the bookmark in it. I don't know, until this day I have no idea what the bookmark was doing in there. There was actually a second one on page 180. I have no idea what this was doing there, because there was also nothing like special happening on this page, when I could have like wanted to mark it in the end, but I did not have any markers with me, so I'm really confused. But yeah, to say, those were all the books that I read this month. So those were all the books that I read this month. And now for my wishful, hopeful reading for the next month. I'm not gonna name a lot of books because I know that I'm gonna be stuck from May and then also June, but essentially for May, because it's all preparation time for the final exams I'm going to take in June, and because I have ADHD, I have to really plan out my attention span to be able to then get all of the information inside my head or on the paper if there is a final essay exam. So yeah, here we are again. So the only book that I really do want to read, and I am going to read, I'm pretty confident about that, is The Hobbit, because I wanted to read it for so long, and now I found a used copy and I said to myself, well, I want to read it anyway. If I have the copy, then I'm being forced to read it, because why did I spend money on it if it's just gonna be in my bookshelf? And it looks thin, so the motivation has to be there to read it even in stressful times. I have not planned anything else. I do have the gender trouble book still on my ebook and I have not finished it. I finished another chapter yesterday. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty academic, and since I'm going to be surrounded by all the academic stuff in university for the next 2 months, I don't know. I don't think I will finish it. But yeah, to be realistic, this is probably the only book I'm going to read in May. Maybe I'm going to read more. But for this, you have to wait. You're going to find out in my monthly wrap-up in May. So thanks for watching. Bye.